Welcome to Rich with Experiences. My name is Michelle. I am your host. Thank you for being with me and this RWE community. Man, we have a good show today, but in true RWE fashion, we got to do our breath work. And why do we do this breath work every time we meet is because I'm so selfish. I love you guys so much. I want this time that we are together to be exactly that. Our time together, focus, listening. If you're listening to the podcast and not looking at me, I want us to just have this time together. I'm excited. So if you're new here, don't worry. I'm going to tell you how you're going to do this. If you have been here before, you know what we are about to do. So first, what you're going to do, you're going to inhale through your nose. But here's the thing. I don't want your chest to rise. We're not going, I must increase my bust. If your bust is coming up, if it's growing, that's not your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is below your belly button. So I want that to actually rise. So I want you to inhale through your nose. And when you're inhaling, I want you to breathe through your diaphragm, and that is below your belly button. And here's the fun part. On the exhale, we are going to make a nice audible sound, and we're going to get that heart chakra vibrating. Okay. So I'm going to show you, and then I want you to do it wherever you are. Okay. So you're going to breathe in through your nose and let your diaphragm expand. So breathe in, and then you, oh, again, breathe in. Oh, okay. And I want you to do it. And I'm going to tell you why I want you to do this while you're doing it on your own. See, the reason why this is the first thing we do is because this breathing technique gets you out of your mind and right here in the body, gets you focused, gets you present. And this is something that you can use in your everyday life. When you wake up, if you want to just spend a little time going, whoa. If you're at work and someone is testing you and you need to go to the bathroom and have a little moment and go, oh, all right. How are you guys feeling? And welcome to this episode. So we're gonna kind of conclude what we were starting last week. So if you missed the episode last week, if you are on Win Win Women TV, it is the video right before this one. And we were discussing the levels of healing and how I decided that the healing journey, yes, it is hard. There is different components to the level of hardness, but we have to determine what level of hard that we are going to have. See, we can have the hard life making the decisions and continuing to live in that manner, or we can work on the healing. So we focused on that last week, the hard, harder, and the hardest. So the hard was really that experience that you went through, right? That was the hard thing, living through that. And then the harder thing, which I realized in my healing journey and why I named the agency Life After Loss, is through after you have that traumatic experience. Hello, Janelle, welcome. Um, you realize that life continues, right? Life continues. And with that, I have to figure out, who am I? Who is this new person? Who am I becoming? Because I wasn't the same person I was before this experience happened. So now that is the harder part, right? Is, who am I? So then we talked about the hardest. So you had the hard, the experience, you have the harder, life after that loss, life after that experience. And then the hardest thing is what we're talking about and what we're doing. And that's the healing journey. Because when we are going on the healing journey, we have to go back to the past, back to the hard. We have to talk about those experiences. We relive those moments. We feel those moments. And that is harder. That is very, very hard. But then I ask you, while you're here, life be lifing, right? If you agree that life be lifing, and you've experienced that in your life, put one in the chat. This is an interactive podcast. We talk to each other. This is the Rich with Experience community. Because as women, we don't have enough opportunities to really talk about the things that we've experienced in a place where we know that someone else may understand. They might not have gone through the same exact thing, but they might definitely understand. And through that, we can also heal each other. We can sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron. Women, we are powerful and we can sharpen, we can encourage, and we can uplift each other. And that's what we do here with the Rich with Experiences community. Because, like I always said, when I started my healing journey, I realized that I was not rich with money. I was rich with a lot of experiences. And those experiences really created the person I am today. So I have to give honor to those experiences. But it takes a lot to get there, right? That's the harder part of the journey, the healing part. So when we were discussing that, I shared a story last week with you about when I was sexually assaulted when I was in the military and the harder, and the hardest parts of that journey. So if you missed last week, again, click the demand. You'll see the video. I share my story. But today I'm going to focus on kind of concluding that story. And that's the forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of those things. I don't know if it was a struggle for you, but for me, that word forgiveness kept me blocked from moving forward in so many things. Does anyone else have any problems with that word forgiveness? Like, forgiveness for who? Forgiveness for you? Forgiveness for me? What does forgiveness mean? What does forgiveness look like? So then I started thinking about that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that today. And the reason why is because I had this thought and I want to share it with you guys, okay? Have you ever been in a situation where the person who was the person that hurt you, that caused your pain, that caused the hail, that was the tornado in the story, also is the person that wants to tell you when it's time for you to move on? When it's time for you to just be over it. Girl, you still talking about that? That's still impacting you? That's still bothering you? Well, yes. If you can relate, put a number 2 in the chat if you can relate. And see, when I was thinking about that, I'm like, wait a second. You can't tell me how to heal when you're also the person that's inflicting the pain. And then I started to also think, wait a second, that can also apply to many different things and different experiences. So let's talk about forgiveness. I was on Google and I asked Google, I said, can forgiveness be on a spectrum? Right? Like, is forgiveness just one-sided? Someone does something, I forgive them, they forgive me, or I don't forgive them and they're mad at me. And then I try to create a boundary and now nothing is happening, nothing is working, and now everyone's mad. Like, what is this idea of forgiveness and how do we do it? Right? How do I do this? Is there a level? Is there a stage? Is there what? And I thought about that. And I thought about my situation when I was sexually assaulted. And I thought about all of the areas where I just was not able to heal because I was not able to forgive. It stopped me from doing so many things that I really loved and, and I wanted to do, but it stopped me. So I started to write and think about that. And so I asked myself, okay, so let's reflect. What did I lose? Remember, when a situation happens, when an experience happens, something is lost. We talked about that as cheese last week. It was my analogy. I think it was like Swiss cheese, right? Every time something happens in your life, an experience, a traumatic experience, it's like, oh, something is just taken from you, right? And then what you've lost is what you're actually grieving. And what you are grieving is because you loved it. And when you lost it, it hurt. It's an emotional connection. Whether in my case, with being sexually assaulted, during that time, I thought I was the biggest, baddest woman on the block. I was in the military. I worked on the flight deck. I was a crew leader. I was doing my dream, launching and recovering aircrafts. You couldn't tell me anything. I was big bad. I had brothers. They taught me how to fight. And in my mind, I could protect myself from any situation. But on that night, I was not able to. And I never thought about the fact that I harbored a lot of resentment for myself because what I lost was that sense of security. I'm big, bad. I could do this. I don't need no help. I got this. Right? I trusted the wrong people and I believed that I could do it. So when that happened, I was like, oh, wow, I can't. I'm not the person who I thought I was. And then I realized that I couldn't, in my mind, I thought I couldn't protect myself. So the vision that I saw in myself, I said, oh, that can't be. That might not be. But on my forgiveness journey that went alongside the healing journey, because they walk side and side, the healing journey is the healing journey, and the forgiveness is like its best friend. It's the best accessory. Because as I'm healing, I'm starting to learn different things that I want to forgive. But I wouldn't be able to get to that point of forgiveness if I didn't have my friend healing. So we go together, birds of a feather, right? So then I asked myself, okay, I need to start forgiving myself. I really didn't focus on forgiving the person that did it to me because the reality is, and I'm going to keep it real, we're a community, right? We are RWE community. The reality is, I don't remember his name. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give you that much power anymore. The faceless monster who had a name that didn't have a name. You might have experiences where you know what I'm talking about. That faceless being, that person who hurt you, you might not know their name. You might not know where they are. So there has to come a time where you're like, you know what, you don't have that much power over me no more. I might not forgive the person, but I'm going to release the control the person has. So that way I can continue on this journey of healing. So that might be something that can help you because that's something I had to learn. I had to learn to let go of the person, let go of that anger. I probably will never see that person again. But I definitely have to wake up every day to be myself. I definitely deserve to figure out who the hell I am after this. And that's why I sit here and I tell you, if I can sharpen you, as I know that this community is about sharpening each other, I want to sharpen you and let you know that you have that power. That's your power. And then I gave myself something else. I gave myself the power to forgive me. And that was the hardest thing. And the reason why it was hard, because I was the biggest person in my mind that was like, it was your fault. It was your fault. I blamed me. I blamed me. You shouldn't have been drinking. You weren't 21. That doesn't give anyone the reason to do something to you. But in my mind, it was my fault because I was big bad Michelle. Nobody could get that close to me. But when it happened, it's like, oh, it's your fault. And then I blamed myself for the life after the experience. You can't do this now because of this. So I had to learn how to forgive myself. And by forgiving myself, I had to give myself grace. Extend that grace, extend that love, extend that compassion. It's always easy to give that love, compassion, and grace to our friends, families, strangers. We can encourage and uplift people we don't know before we encourage and uplift ourselves. And so I had to then look at myself and apply it. That was that phase of forgiveness. Sometimes when you are in a situation, and I'm going to just throw out different types of areas where you might have, bye. Um, Thank you for joining. Um, where you need to be like, you know what? I'm going to look at this experience, look at this situation, and then ask myself, what do I want to forgive? What do I want to release? So let's talk about these experiences. Parent to child. Mm, Parent to child. There are so many relationships and so many things. I can throw myself included in that situation where there is a lot of things my parents now, my mom and I now can have a conversation where she says, you know what? I did the best I could with the best I knew how to do. And yes, some things I did wrong and that impacted you and that affected you. And even though, yes, you get the apology, I want to tell you it is up to you whether you want to forgive. Because sometimes there are situations where, and I'm sorry, doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was. And you say, okay, I accept, I understand, and I will forgive the fact that you did what you could have. But that doesn't mean that I have to forgive the person. That's where forgiveness comes along with the spectrum. You can forgive the fact, especially when it's a parent to child situation, you can forgive the fact that they might not have known because of generational trauma, because of situations, pain. There's a lot of things when you are raised in poverty, there are certain things that you might not have learned. And then you apply certain things to your children when you have children. And then, that's where generational trauma stems from. But when you know better, you do better. But that is also up to you, the child, to accept and forgive which part of that path. You can look at your parents and say, you know what? I accept and I understand and I forgive that you did what you could for yourself and you did what you could for the best of us. But that does not mean I have to forgive you, the person. I'm still working on that. See, the hurt is still there. I'm still focusing. I'm still healing. I'm still on this journey. So I'm not there yet. And baby, let me tell you, it is a-okay. It is a-okay. You can do that because forgiveness is on a spectrum. You forgive when it is time. You forgive in those situations at that time. So here's another one. Forgiving people who don't speak up. I oftentimes sit with a lot of women, a lot of men, and a lot of people, and myself included, with this situation. I harbor anger sometimes for people who didn't say anything, didn't speak up. Man, do you not know how much pain that caused? And you've seen it, and you could have said something, and you didn't. Well, the reality is, we may not ever get the response that we want from someone who might not even remember what we are even talking about. Because what impacted us and what has really um, caused a lot of pain in our lives, someone else might not even remember. And they're like, what? Huh? Like, no, you saw this. Or you can have a situation where someone may have seen it, but chose out of fear not to speak up. Both situations can be true. And there's a lot of other scenarios that we can add into this one. But I'm going to tell you something. You can put as many scenarios on it. I can sit here all day, Google, AI, get thousands upon thousands of situations where people didn't speak up for someone and justifications and how that, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you the same thing I've been saying. It's up to you whether you want to forgive that. Why is it important to forgive? See, even though forgiveness is on a spectrum, and there are so many things that you can forgive, and even in one experience, the experience that I'm talking about, I had to forgive the person who inflicted the situation, the person who sexually assaulted me. I forgave. I don't know. I don't even know what they're doing in their life, to be completely honest. I don't know. And I can tell you this, I don't know if the person even still remembers that I exist, to be completely honest. I don't know. But what I do know, it ain't holding me no more. I cut that off. I let that go because I had to choose a hard. You have to choose a hard. And that wasn't the hard that I wanted because there was other things along the path, along my healing path, along my forgiveness path. There was other things along the path that took priority. I saw through this and reflecting and journaling and pulling back those layers. We've discussed this, pulling back those layers little by little, asking myself why. If I'm starting to feel an emotional response when I'm thinking about why is this affecting me so bad, then I take a moment and ask myself, okay, what do I need? Okay, where do I feel this emotion? And allow yourself to feel it. I'm telling you this because I'm telling you, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. This healing journey and this forgiveness journey, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. The body keeps score. Trauma's in the body. So when you're going through these reflective paths and these reflective moments, take time. Remember the healing, mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. It's all connected. So when you're writing and you're thinking about these things and you're starting to feel an emotional response, an emotional connection, I want you then to connect to it. Touch it. Literally touch it. Touch it. Connect to it. It's you. Don't be afraid. It's you. Connect to it. By not doing this, it is like it's like stifling your healing journey. So connect to it little by little, little by little. That's why I say love yourself through the discovery and the healing. You gotta love yourself, give yourself grace, mind, body, spirit, connecting, honoring, because forgiveness first has to be inward. It has to be. I Googled it. Google's free. I Googled it. Inward. Have you ever tried to forgive someone that you really are not there yet? If you have, I'm so curious to hear how it turned out. I've tried forgiving people I was not ready to honestly forgive because I was not healed yet. And whenever that situation or another situation where I could use that situation in an argument and in a way to, well, you know what you did? This is what they did. Remember when you did. That means I haven't forgiven that person yet. I might have said it with my words, but my spirit hasn't forgiven it. So, first, that forgiveness has to start right here within yourself. And once you forgive and you decide what you want to forgive, hello, because what you want to forgive may not be what the other people want you to forgive. Employee and employer situations. That's a great one. I think that one is probably the most undiscussed situations. Employee to employer to employee. Mistreatment on the job. Spoke to like not respected and as I leave you today, man, this has been a great episode. And this has been a great time with you, my RWE community. As we looked back on last episode and this episode and really discussing the journey of, what's hard, the experience. That's hard. What's harder? Reconnecting to who I am after this experience. That's hard. Harder. And what's hardest is the healing journey, the forgiveness journey. That's the hardest. Unhealed trauma not only affects you emotionally, it affects you in your health. That's hard. Diabetes, overweight, heart attack, stroke, all of these are impacts of unhealed trauma. Not by my own definition. CDC. That is hard. It is up to us to decide what path of hard we're going to be on. The path of healing and forgiveness is hard. And that is why here, RWE, our rich with experiences community, that's why we're here together, because we know this shit's hard. That's why we uplift, encourage, and educate one another. Speaking of educate, man, coming up next week, we have some amazing women, mothers, wives, visionaries, educators, authors. I'm so excited. We are going to have women who are passionate about financial literacy, passionate about removing trauma blocks around money. Y'all, it's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited to be spending it right here with you. I am a trauma informed coach. I own my own agency, Life After Loss Academy, where I created a 90-day program specifically geared to healing and removing permanently trauma. We work with the mind, body, and soul. September, we're going to be launching our new group. We're hybrid because I believe that group work is amazing. Strengthening each other, communicating, building one another up, encouraging one another. Man, there's nothing better than that. So I encourage you to reach out to me if you're interested in getting on this group. We're going to do it in September. We're going to launch the first group. I also offer the same program on an individual basis. So if a group setting is like, I'm not really comfortable with the group setting, don't worry. I offer it one-on-one as well. But if you're interested in either the group or working with me individually or understanding kind of like, you know what, I do feel I have some trauma blocks. I just don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Don't worry. Go to my website, www.michellehoughton.com, and then you can click to have a free call with me, encouragement call, so we can see if one, this program is perfect for you, or we have amazing women right here at the Win Win Women Network. So if I don't know someone, if it's not me, I'm pretty sure that I can connect you with someone. But trust me, we are a powerful group of women. And this program is something that's amazing that will help you heal your traumas permanently. So thank you again. And remember, love yourself through discovery and healing.